He leaned in close, his breath sharp with whiskey, words dripping like poison. "If it wasn't for pity, no one would have invited you." It was a whisper meant to cut, but loud enough for me alone to hear. My father had always been like this, venom laced in casual cruelty, knives disguised as jokes. 17 years had passed since he shoved me out of his house and out of his life, yet here we were, in a hall filled with crystal chandeliers and golden tablecloths, and still he looked at me like I was the same boy he'd once discarded. But I wasn't. I didn't respond. I didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. I simply raised my glass, sipped my wine, and let the silence sit between us like a blade he didn't realize was about to turn. 17 years earlier I had been 13, skinny, uncertain, clumsy with the weight of growing up too fast. I still remember the night. Rain hammered on the roof, thunder cracking, and inside, he was shouting about grades, about weakness, about how I'd never be the son he wanted. My mother stood in the doorway, a silhouette caught between loyalty and fear. Her eyes begging him to stop but her lips refusing to move. He didn't stop. He shoved me onto the porch with nothing but a duffel bag and the clothes on my back. His final words were seared into me. "You'll never amount to anything. You're not my son anymore." The door slammed. The lock clicked. That was it. I slept on couches when friends took pity, worked odd jobs no one else wanted, scraped through nights when hunger gnawed louder than my thoughts. And yet, in every wound, I found something he had never expected me to find. Discipline. The kind that hardens into resilience when the world refuses to give you a hand. At 18, I signed my name on enlistment papers. Not out of desperation but out of choice. The army became the family I was denied, the structure my father said I'd never hold on to. I learned how to fight not just with fists or weapons, but with strategy, with patience, with will. Every rank I earned was another step away from his voice echoing in my head. Every uniform I wore was armor against his memory. By 30, I wasn't just a soldier. I was a leader. By 40, I was the man other men followed into battle, the one whose word carried weight. And by 45, the title I carried was carved into stone, Major General Davis. But he never knew. Not until tonight. When I walked into that reception hall, the air shifted. Heads turned. Old neighbors, classmates, people who had seen me as nothing more than the boy my father abandoned. They looked at me and didn't recognize what I had become. Dressed in formal blues, medals polished to a gleam, posture straight, steps steady, I carried myself with the quiet authority of a man who had built himself from the ashes of rejection. But my father, he saw none of that. Narcissists don't see the present. They live stuck in their own twisted version of the past. To him, I was still the broken boy from 17 years ago. So when he sneered his words, he thought he'd landed a blow. He thought he still had power. He had no idea what was coming. Dinner moved on. Plates clattered, laughter swirled, speeches droned on. My father sat smug beside me, sipping drink after drink, basking in his own petty satisfaction. But across the hall something stirred. The bride, my new sister-in-law, stood up, microphone in hand, her smile radiant beneath the lights. She tapped the glass, the room hushed. "I'd like to make a toast," she said. Glasses stilled. Murmurs quieted. My father straightened, smugness blooming, convinced she meant him. He raised his chin, ready to bask in the praise he always believed he deserved. But then her eyes found mine. Her smile widened. Her voice lifted. "To Major General Davis," she declared, raising her glass high. "A man who fought, who served, who rose when life tried to keep him down. A man I am proud to welcome into this family." The room erupted. Applause roared like thunder, glasses clinked, people stood in ovation. The chandeliers trembled with the force of it. My chest didn't swell with pride, it stayed calm, steady. Because pride wasn't new to me. I had earned it years ago, without needing anyone's approval. But across from me, my father's face collapsed. His smirk evaporated, his jaw slackened, his skin turned ashen. The word general hung in the air like a verdict, echoing again and again until it wrapped around his throat like a chain. "General," he whispered, almost choking on it. I turned my gaze to him, cold, deliberate, unflinching. 17 years, Dad. Maybe you should have paid attention. The words hit harder than any blow. His glass slipped slightly in his hand, trembling. His eyes darted around the room, searching for someone, anyone, to give him back his power. But no one looked at him the same way anymore. The patriarch, the man who once barked orders and sneers, was now nothing but a bitter figure stripped bare in front of all. He tried to stumble toward me with excuses forming on his lips. "Son, I didn't know. I didn't mean." But I cut him off with silence. I excused myself, walked away, left him standing alone in a crowd that no longer admired him. As the night carried on, every laugh, every cheer in my honor was another nail hammered into the coffin of his pride. He had lost not just his son but his audience. And a man like him, he couldn't survive without either. Driving away, my uniform jacket folded neatly beside me, I thought back to that porch 17 years ago. His words had been designed to destroy me. Instead, they became my fuel. He gave me nothing, and from nothing I built everything. The real revenge wasn't in humiliating him at the wedding. It wasn't in the applause or the toast. The real revenge was every single year I spent proving him wrong without needing him to see it. The final blow was letting him choke on the truth in front of everyone he had ever tried to impress. So yes, I sipped my wine and smiled that night. Because the boy he abandoned was long gone. And in his place stood the man he could never become.